So with that, I'm going to let Jim take it over. And I hope you join us also at 4 o'clock for a panel, an artist-led panel on streaming from home. And that will have some exciting people, including Mika Nelson, Lissy, and a member of the band Milky Chance. So with that, take it away, Jim. Thank you all.
Thank you, Heather.
Shauna.
Everybody hear me okay? Good deal. Yes, yep. So welcome to NOLA Tech 2020. And I happen to be only about 20 miles from New Orleans. I live North Shore, New Orleans. There's a big giant lake north of New Orleans called Lake Pontchartrain, and I live right north of it. So I can get to the city right over a bridge in 20 minutes. And I was listening to the last session, and yeah, we really missed out on our festival season. So we're just getting over it right now. But all the live streaming's been a lot of fun. But welcome to the session. So we have some wonderful people on our session, and I did some background snooping, and wow, you know, really, really talented folks with us here today. We're going to be talking about recording at home, which now is it's easier now to make a great record at home than it ever has been to me any time in history, because the products that you can buy, and you don't have to spend a ton of money, or you can spend as much as you want, but you can make a great sounding record, I think, from your house. With just a few tips, with learning how to use proper equipment for what you want to get accomplished and things. I think, you know, let me tell you about my background real quick. I grew up in Louisiana. I went to Berklee College of Music when I was 7.
Off the hook with Careless, thank God.
Pardon? I went to Berklee College of Music, and I joined a band.
I know it's just she's not going to sit in she has bad internet. She lives in rural Ontario. She always has an idea what she wants to do.
I need help in muting other people. Thank you.
Yeah, we just muted Patty. Anyway, I spent a lot of time recording studios starting about 17. I built my first home studio in a barn, actually. Was in a hayloft with a Tascam 80-8 8-track recorder. Do you remember that? And the trick was trying to figure out how to put, you know, right now 30 tracks on 8. So anyway, so it was a challenge, but it's like I said earlier, it's really possible now. I joined a band called LaRue. We were on RCA Records. I did 2 albums on RCA and worked with some really good engineers and producers. And I worked in New Orleans. I worked in Los Angeles. I worked in Miami, Criteria. So I did a lot of studio stuff. And then somewhere in the early 90s, we decided we needed to make better home recording products. And that's how Presonus was actually started, was to try to add automation to these mixers that we were having to buy, these analog mixers that really were lacking. So we created an automation system, and that's what Presonus began to do. So over the years, of course, we've added a lot of products. So that's enough about me. The art of recording at home, I think at Presonus, we look at it like riff to release, is how we've always phrased it inside of our company. And there's like different buckets in that, right? So, you know, I'm not talking about the creative side. Hopefully you're pretty good at what you do already, you know, because we have this thing, you know, it's like, hopefully I don't suck, right? That's the first thing I think about when I go in the studio as a player. You know, maybe I won't suck today. I'll be okay. Because I don't care how good the engineer is, we're not ready to record. We shouldn't be in there anyway. But the rip to release starts at, you know, recording. And at the beginning of that recording is a recording chain, right? And that's the products that you choose as your recording chain. And then there's, you know, you go through that whole process. There's all kinds of things you can do to make your music sound good or bad. And then there's mixing, and then there's mastering. And that's the rip to release piece. So in my home studio, I'm talking through a little warm audio copy of U87 mic, because it sounds pretty good. That's what you're hearing me through right now. I'm going through a Quantum 2, which is a Thunderbolt interface by Presonus, into my Mac. And then around me, I've got a plethora of instruments. You can see guitars back here. There's another one over here. There's also things on this side that you can't see, just a couple of different types of studio monitors. I've got Avantone CLA-10, which is kind of an NS10 that I like, and I've got a couple of Presonus Scepter speakers that I like. So that's kind of my rig. But what I'd like to do is go to our panel members and have them each talk about their rigs at home. So let's see, James, would you sort of go through your rig for us and you know how you think and what you think is the best process for recording at home?
Thanks, Jim. Yeah, I mean, for me, you know, I've just got a Mac Mini. I've got a couple of soft tube units, you know, basically console one with the faders. I'm going into Studio One, and then I have a little rack to the side of me with a bit of Summit gear and my UAD Apollo. And, you know, that's my kind of just basic home rig for kind of mixing and working on. I don't tend to do actually much recording here. It's just mainly mixing. So it's coming in from all different sources. It used to be from studios. At the moment, it's currently coming from a lot of people's homes. From, you know, basically multi-stack sessions. So, I mean, the first thing when I get basically an audio, I'll basically use the gain structure, get it all down to -10. And then I only use a couple of plugins as my basic starting point. One of them is, let's see if we can see it on here, Smart Live EQ, which is something which I tend to use a lot in the kind of live situation, but I also use in the studio because it basically smooths out the EQ of the sound of the nastiness to start with. And then basically I'm just putting it into, you know, Summit compressor on the kind of UAD. And that's just my basic starting point, -10 dB, just to kind of keep the headroom together for the mix.
Who makes that plugin?
That's a good question. I should know that. And Heather Rafter should probably know because I think she deals with them.
It's probably
which plugin is it?
It's the Austrian guys.
Sonable?
Sonable.
Oh,
Sonable,
so
that's them. Yes.
Thank you.
yes, I work with Sonable.
And
Thank
then
you for this.
my other favorite plugin is this one on the end. That's the Stephen Slate tape. Is this Soundways Reveal?
Yeah, sure.
I don't know if you guys have been using that one, but that plugin basically means I don't need multiple monitors because I can instantly hit it and get like an iPhone sound. I can get the NS10 sound, and then I can just go back to my main monitors, which I love.
And which DAW are you using? Did you mention that?
I'm using Presonus Studio One.
Serendipity.
Good choice.
I've been using it for quite a few years now. I mean, I really love the way that the Melodyne interacts, the chord tracks, I mean, the vocal line. It's just the speed of doing things, you know. It really is just like the ultimate. And the way that the soft tube console one is interacting with it, you know, and then you can hit a button, you're into the UAD plugins. For me, it's just really exciting, and it's great what you've done and how it's moved on.
Thanks. I think, you know, the core sort of strategy is to make it simple, right? If we could make home recording simple, but also make it sophisticated enough to where you can do any project you want, then we've kind of done our job, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's the goal. So anything you'd like to add on the microphone side or anything like that? Do you have any favorite mics?
Warm audio. I mean, that is definitely my choice of mics at the moment. I mean, I love the 84s they came out with. I've got 4 of the 47s. Yeah. I did a session with Steve Winwood last week, which went up on the Facebook page last night, where I used a what's the Sphere plugin, Townsend microphone. So I had that into a Dante unit in the middle of a field, and used the Mevo camera to film him. And you know, he just played the backing track off an iPhone in his pocket and played along.
Fantastic.
But I mean, that was great because you know, the modeling on that microphone afterwards to kind of get rid of the wind noise and, you know, basically change the patterns.
Right.
You know, a perfect choice for being out in the middle of a field.
Great. Well, thanks, James. All right, Ainjel, tell us how you make music. I really want to know.
Hi. However it needs to be done. Every artist and every record is different. So I'm lucky I came up before there were DAWs and before there were personal computers. So I actually learned how to multi-track between a little Walkman and my home stereo with terrible 5th, 6th generation recordings. And I got my first Tascam Porta 1 when I was probably about 12. And I started in home recording and I've kind of stayed there. This is actually at my place. This is a converted garage that I'm in right now. I still use my Porta 1, believe it or not. And I also use currently Pro Tools. I'm running that through, I have a Lynx Aurora 8, and I also have a Lucid for additional inputs. I have some PMC 226s right behind me. We're pretty hi-fi here now, but I love still being able to work with limitations. And I think that's the greatest thing about home recording is you have these limitations and it's your job to utilize them creatively. And I think that can be done with everything from your phone to, you know, something as hi-fi as what we have here. So it's really exciting to be on this panel because this is my favorite subject, is home recording.
You know, you made a pretty decent point there about you can use your iPhone if that's the sound you need for that particular musical part, right?
Yeah,
you can use anything you want if that's what you need for that part, and that's, you know, you can do all that.
Yeah, and we have software now. You know, I have an Android phone, but we have software now that you know, beats my Fostex R8 at this point. So like, you know, you can do a lot if you know how to be creative. So it's really all about finding the workflow that works best for you, creating the best environment for you to record in, trying to, you know, rein in room tones, and just use what you've got and do the best you can and try to upsource it to a mixer if you can to get the best on the back end.
When you track, how do you start? I'm just curious, as go back, you as an artist, how do you, you know, where do you start with? Do you start with melodies, or do you start with drums, or what's your process?
If I'm tracking, I usually will start with drums, and I try to get drums and bass playing together because, you know, I think that natural pocket sets the tone. Unless it's like not a drum bass track, of course, then I'll start with guitars or piano or whatever it is that needs to be there. I do a lot of pop, so there's a lot of programming. So I still start with the drums there just because I like to know where the floor is. And yeah, I definitely think that drums tend to lead the way if you have them. So it's a good place to start. If you are not capable of tracking drums at your place, you know, you can always do something where you program some drums in and then find ways to create percussive elements with what you have in the house. So.
It's amazing to me. I mean, the sort of ambiance plugins you can use to make, you know, anything sound like it's in one room or another, depending on what you want to do. And, you know, and you can make the mixing sort of section of your DAW sound like a different console if you want now. So you can almost create anything. I mean, there's no substitute for a beautiful room. We did our last record at Esplanade Studios in New Orleans. We cut in last year, and the engineer was Jeff Glixman, and man, he just did such a fabulous job. I don't think we could have gotten those drums from a sample, but now we have them, I can sample them, right?
There you go.
Make another record with that same sample, you know. But that's what's cool. It's just it's kind of like, you know, Illustrator and Photoshop for music. You know, you can just build anything you want. Is there anything other you want to add technically that you do?
Not really. I'd love to hear, you know, someone like Piper is somebody who takes stuff on the
hit
post
Piper
end.
up in a second.
Yeah, I think that, you know, it'd behoove everyone who is recording at home to understand deliverables so that you can outsource to professionals when you want to have releasable stuff. So
that's a really good point. And I know that the P&E wing of the Grammys has a deliverable document that you can actually download from the P&E wing website to tell you how to prepare your music to be mixed by a professional engineer. So I don't know the link to that, but I know that it's there.
I'll drop it in the chat.
Good.
producersengineers.com.
Yeah, it's a real good document, and everyone should read it. And you know, there's a whole new meta tagging system that people have been working on for probably the last 10 years called DDEX, our recording notification file, right? Where we're going to be you put in who all the musicians are, everything you use. That's going to be real important too in the future for people just to put everyone that did anything on a recording so that it can live in all, you know, live in time for either to collect money or just to get credit or whatever you need. So I think there's some really good things going on with that. Awesome. DDEX is the name of that, by the way. So Piper, so the last thing we do is we try to make it sound decent, right? And I was reading about your background, and man, it's stunning, you know, all the things you've done. And I've got utmost respect for mastering engineers, because without you guys, we would all kind of not sound that great, honestly. You know, I've found that on the records I've done in my life, without good mastering, it's just night and day. Okay, so maybe you can help the audience understand the best way to do it. And maybe it's not to throw it up on an online mastering thing, but maybe it is in certain circumstances, like a lander and all those. In my experience, I know there's ginormous difference between throwing it up on just a regular mastering software and having a master engineer do the work. But if you could kind of just give us some hints.
Yeah, thanks, Jim, and thanks, Heather, for putting this panel together. I'm really honored to always speak at MusicTech. I think this is my at least 4th or 5th year being a part of MusicTech stuff. So my name is Piper Payne. I'm a mastering engineer. I work for Infrasonic Mastering. I split my time between the Nashville studio and my studio in Oakland. If you want to have a look, it's just infrasonicssound.com, and you can see photos of our studios there. I'm here at my house in Nashville at the moment. And yeah, thanks, Heather, that's correct. And so I'm in my home studio. I thought it might be appropriate to broadcast from here because that's what the topic is. But if you want to have a look at the actual mastering equipment that I use every day, in addition to just my simple editing and summing rig right here, you can find me on the internet. I also spend a lot of time in the vinyl manufacturing world. I've designed new technology for quality control for vinyl manufacturers, and I'm also opening a vinyl record pressing plant here in Nashville later this year. In addition to all of that, I am a proud trustee of the Recording Academy, and I serve on the Producers and Engineers Wing Steering Committee. And yeah, a lot of the documents and standards that you're talking about, Jim, those are the things that we work on every day. And I think Maureen is on the call here, so she can answer any further questions. I also have a small summing company where we sum your tracks online. So if you're working only in the box or very small hybrid setup and you want that analog sound, you can do that right here on this custom API legacy console at sixstemstereo.com. Lastly, I am a cheeseburger enthusiast. I have dogs, and I'm a coffee and bourbon snob. So if you want to talk about any of that, give me a shout. My world as a mastering engineer is really to finish the record making process and begin the manufacturing process. So we're ending the creative process. We're going through quality control, format conversion, taking records that maybe were on a whole bunch of different formats, tape, high res, hopefully, maybe an iPhone recording. We're getting it ready to go out into the world as one cohesive finished product that your listeners can enjoy and not have to futz with volume knobs or not have to listen to music that's too loud and gets turned down on streaming services, or too quiet and you have to, you know, kick up the level. And a lot of that work really is by my experience and my time listening as a human being. And so, Jim, I know you have mentioned online mastering services. There are definitely places and reasons for people to use those things. And I am not going to be the person that says don't use those, specifically because I have a lot of respect for the companies that are able to do that well. But the quality control process requires a human being to check this stuff. You are human beings making your music. Make sure that when you are getting ready to put this stuff out into the world, you have someone who is a real human checking to make sure that there are no errors in the metadata. There are no issues with the files, that you are sending the right thing out to all these distributors, because when you put this out into the world, you can't really take it back all that easily. It takes many weeks and sometimes a lot of money to take something back from the internet that once it's been put out. Or if you get records made vinyl or CDs and you have an error or an issue on them, you're not going to be able to get just a run-of-the-mill, you know, person who helped make your, you know, put an L2 on your master. They're not going to pay for CDs to get recut for you, and you're certainly not going to want to cheap out on vinyl production. So you need to have a real human working on this stuff. So that is my human evangelizing for the moment. But most of what I do is all outboard analog real-time mastering, and I work very closely with the engineers and producers and artists that send me work, and we are here to help. And lastly, if you are going to work at home, please, please, please make sure that your speakers are set up correctly and in phase. I cannot stress enough how many times I have to reverse phase on home recordings, or mess with stereo image issues. And one last tip before I let the rest of the crew pick up here is, if you're working in headphones, make sure that you do take this stuff out onto a proper speaker system, because when you work in headphones, the image is pointing to the center of my head. And a lot of times we end up suppressing the vocal. And if you're working on speakers that are spread too far apart or too close together, you also end up compensating for vocal level and stereo image. So that's my advice to you, and peep those PMCs, Ainjel, right on.
Yeah, both of you guys.
That's a great time to make a 5K purchase right now, let me tell you. Oof.
Yeah, that stimulus check, right?
Try 150.
We got him just before this started. So.
Right. You know, speaking of home recording, at our company, we've experienced the most extreme demand for home recording products that I can remember in 25 years, which stunned us. Frankly, we didn't know what to expect, right? Nobody did. And so many people are making music at home right now, are doing something with it. Maybe it's streaming, maybe it's gaming, but there's a lot of audio products that people are starting to buy, and I guess they're going to try to learn. And one thing we have at Presonus that might be helpful to people is, if you go to our, I can put a link over here. If you go to our homepage and you click on Learn, I'll put it in the chat here. You click
is
on
that with the multi-tracks?
Yeah, well, in a minute. If you're talking about the, well, I was going to say, on the Learn section, you can go to the videos, and we have over 1,000 videos. So, for example, you go to that page, just type in drums, and you'll get all kinds of people talking about how to mic a drum, how to record it, how to create beats, how to do all kinds of things. Type in vocals, you'll get tons of videos. So, presonus.com, it's /videos/player, and just type in anything you're curious about, and there'll be somebody talking about it, you know, somewhere. But you know,
somebody had a comment there. I just wanted to pop in there, talking about purchasing recording equipment. A lot of times you can get in touch directly with the companies that sell this stuff. I don't know if you are trying to purchase stuff from some sort of distributor or a store, or if you would usually just walk into Guitar Center or something like that. It is difficult to buy stuff online right now. Things take a little while, but I've had luck suggesting to my clients that they contact some of the dealers, like you know, Vintage King or Westlake, even Sweetwater has been helpful. So definitely check out some folks, you know, not necessarily the big box music stores, but some of the more dedicated audio dealers.
Support your favorite audio dealer. Mm-hmm. James, you were going to say something?
Yeah, the multi-tracks which you release.
Oh yeah. So we have like 2 minutes left. I got involved with a gentleman named Bud Carr, who's a music supervisor in Los Angeles, and we built this store called mixthemusic.com, and it's basically you know, hundreds and hundreds of multi-track masters that you can buy, download, and open up in Studio One and mix yourself. And there's masters going all the way back to old like Jackson 5, all the way up to Justin Bieber tracks. So you can download and just have some fun. That's called mixthemusic.com, and it's brand new. It's only like 2 months old, so it's just now getting started. But there is multi-tracks from Universal and tracks from UMG, Sony. There's Warner's, there's Paramount, there's EA Sports, there's gaming masters on there for if you want to go like redesign Sims master, you can do that on mixthemusic.com. It's really more of an educational thing. You're not allowed to take them out and make derivative works and sell them. So, but it's really
a good training thing. Yeah.
Yes.
Great training thing for this time.
Exactly. You can kind of see how a record came together really fast. And it's a lot of fun. So that's mixthemusic.com. And we have about 1 minute left, and I see Heather's jumping up and down over there. What you got? Can't hear you.
Hi. Okay. I wanted to say thank you. There's a breakout room if everyone can stay, and you can ask questions directly of our panelists. If there's anything last minute, any of the panelists want to say it now. And also, we have to mention Sound Girls is a great resource. Ainjel, Piper, and Jim is also now a member of Sound Girls. You can go to the private Sound Girls page and get a lot of resources there. It's open to men and women, and but it's geared towards helping women in sound. Anything else, team?
Thank you so much to MusicTech, Heather. See you in the breakout.
And I'm a lawyer as well. If you have questions about your contracts and recording at home on that side, just shoot me an email and I'll be glad to help. Okay?